Welcome back to Ladies of Another View on Back, and we're going to talk about womanhood. We're women here. Not that this is like a woman's show. I always tell people, we're not just doing recipes and makeup tips
not
or
at all.
anything.
I'm surprised we don't have a transgender telling us how to behave like women or what we should feel like as a woman.
But what is womanhood anymore? That's the question. Matt Walsh did a documentary on what is a woman, and he went over to the left, and they couldn't answer that question. So anyways, this microbiologist has an opinion on it. She was at a debate. Well, it wasn't really a debate. They were trying to make people a little more sensitive to these kind of issues, and she wasn't buying it, and I loved her responses, so let's watch.
Trans women should be legally treated as women. Tell me why you're strongly disagreeing.
Because I'm a molecular geneticist. Being male or being female is a developmental process. You can't go backwards. Okay. So you can't change your sex. Like, you cannot do that. And the truth is that currently in California prisons in other parts of the country, women are getting impregnated by other women. And there's just no way that, this is against the UN. After World War II, there was like I don't remember what body came up with this statute, but it was against, I believe it was the Hague. You cannot house female prisoners with male prisoners because they get raped. And that's happening today. I go to the women's changing room at my gym, and there's a dude in there. He's putting on makeup and hoop earrings. And this is not something a woman does when she goes to work out. Nor do women beat each other to death, but men do. And it's so sad that women have internalized misogyny to the point where the man's comfort takes precedence over the woman's safety. There's a reason why they don't want to be in men's prisons, because men beat each other to death. Women don't do that.
What, if anything, would cause you to move to the disagree? And is there anything you heard here tonight that would convince you to move one line over? It's okay to say no, I'm just trying to figure this out.
No, I have figured it out.
And you're confident?
I am as confident as I am that this is my hand in front of my face instead of yours. There's absolutely, this is the most insane thing that has ever happened to me in my life, that women are a feeling now.
Hoorah!
Yeah. How you feeling about that?
If to me, it all goes back to how we have graduated throughout our society, whether it's in school, whether it's amongst discussion groups, public forums, that it's all about your feeling. How do you feel? It doesn't matter, because we've taken real truth out of most every conversation that's an important conversation as far as our society knowing how to be. And it's like, just however you feel, it's good. It's all good. And it's like, no, it's not. No, it's not, because it messes people up. It's a proven fact. It messes people up, because we have to get back to what is real truth and what does constitute how we build a good life for ourselves. And I'm not saying that people that have some issues can't have the room to work through them, but as a society overall, I think it's wrong, the direction we're going.
Well, and I would agree with you that people are kind of blurring the line. There's not your truth and your truth and your truth. There is the truth, and then there is falsehood. And they are trying really hard to blur those lines. I loved what she said about man's comfort versus women's safety. That's 100% what this is about. They're taking away something that belongs to an individual, which is their right to their person, and to be that individual. And they're saying, no, you can be me too, and you can be me too. And that's absolutely a falsehood. And I don't see how they can rationalize any of that.
And then throw into the mix young women. Say you have teenage girls or even 10, 12-year-old girls in the same locker room as a full-grown man with his full-grown genitalia
Yeah.
hanging out in front of these young ladies, that is a travesty. And we, the country, those of us that are conservative, we need to put an end to this. It's ridiculous. At least have if you want to pretend you're a woman, go ahead and maybe have a pretend locker room for all of you
There you go.
pretenders. All right, because there is man and there are women. All right, that's the end of story. But it's like they don't even think about the safety of women or the safety of children or even young boys for that matter.
And you know, it seems like to me we're always hearing that it's the men going into women's sports. It's the men going into women's locker rooms. It's the men. Well, there's another side of that coin when it comes to gender identity, and that's the lesbian population in the mainstream of it. I guess you've got all the other letters, but why don't we hear the stories of the women going into men's locker room, even if they're transitioning and they're becoming men? Where are those stories where the men are offended? I never thought of it till just now, but you don't hear men saying, I'm kind of uncomfortable with them in my locker room. Are they uncomfortable?
might
couldn't
be.
do that.
They might
don't
be,
know.
but here's the issue. We're talking about safety. We're talking about fairness in sports, and women don't pose that kind of threat. Why did we have Title IX? Because we had to protect women. We had to make it fair for women that are the weaker sex. That's just the way it is. And so we made those strides, and then men are overtaking, what Time Magazine had Man of the Year. Who was it? Or
The Woman of the Year, it was a man.
And then,
Yeah.
then the sports, who was the Sportsman of the Year? Leah Thomas, who was a swimmer, who did have his genitalia, who was making women uncomfortable in the locker room at University of Pennsylvania. And that's the problem. The problem is now sometimes you see backlash and anger, and these people do need help because their feelings aren't reality and they do need help, but they're often hurting themselves. So there's somebody I'm hoping to have on in the future who did transition supposedly to be a man, realized I really am a woman, and she got married and tried to detransition back, but not without some permanent damage to her body.
So do you think any of this, I know we're running out of time, but do you think any of this has to do with broken homes and broken families? And maybe the mother raising these and these young boys looking up to their mother? You know, who knows where it all stems from, but it is a mental illness. I think we can all agree on that. And it's like, but we do need to get to the bottom of it.
It is reality. I mean, it's reality that there's a man and there's a woman, and we're not helping people who are struggling with whatever.